Hey, Peter.
Hey.
I'm going to write something down here.
Okay.
I want you to try to say this just from the text. Ready?
Yes. I'm Peter Martin.
Oh, listen. Oh, that's interesting that you put that. I'm Peter Martin. So do it one more time.
Okay.
Say this.
I'm Peter Martin.
Okay. Interesting. All right. One more here.
Okay.
How would you say this?
You'll hear it.
One more time.
You'll hear it.
Okay. I'm Adam Manis.
I'm Peter Martin.
Wait.
Oh, sorry. I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music advice, commentary, and conversation.
Oh boy,
Coming at you.
It's.
Why don't you like it when
it's
I
going
add
off the
stuff?
rails?
I'm gonna add that.
He can't stick to one for more than 2 episodes.
Well, you know what I realized? Like, we do give music advice, but that's underselling. It's simultaneously
You
overselling
don't have to
and
explain
underselling.
the whole thing, man. You could just say, "What's up?"
What's up?
Hey, yo, Peter.
What's up?
That's all.
Okay.
So we are brought
We
to you
got
by.
any Cheetah fans out there?
Oh,
I'm just
yeah.
going to leave it at that.
We're sponsored by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com.
Yes.
To learn more. So today.
Wait. Don't jump off it that
We
quick.
don't have to go all deep
No.
into it. We
No,
don't have to
but
do a whole
folks
thing.
might not have heard. We are not a sponsorless podcast. We are a solo-sponsored
That's right.
podcast. Una corda sponsora.
We're sponsored by Open
Una corda
Studio.
sponsora.
openstudiojazz.com.
That's right.
Yes.
OpenStudioJazz.com, which is more than just a URL. It's more than just a website.
It's a whole community. You got to
It's a
check it
whole
out. There's
community.
courses from Peter, from me, from Fred Hirsch, from Jeffrey Keyser, from Christian McBride, from Ron Carter, from Gregory Hutchinson. The list goes on and on and on and on.
Right. The list goes on and on, but the exciting thing that pulls it all together is the amazing community and the pinnacle, the penultimate level being Open Studio Pro. Penultimate?
Ultimate.
Ultimate. What's penultimate?
The one
5, like Devil's ultimate.
Ultimate is the
Pentagram.
last possible.
Yeah.
Penultimate is the one
I don't know.
before the last
Is that
possible.
true?
Yeah.
You sure? So it's like a pentagram. No. Not related. Sorry.
No.
Okay. Anyway, the top level,
The top
ultimate
level.
level,
The ultimate level.
yeah, is Open Studio Pro, headed up by none other than my comrade here,
Comrade.
una comrade,
Oh,
Adam Manis.
That's right.
And it's just an amazing place. Please come over. If you enjoy this podcast and you're looking to get better and you're looking to connect with others from around the world that are getting better playing jazz, getting better playing music, this is the place for you.
That's right.
That's right.
Today we're talking about, speaking of getting better,
Yes.
we're talking about all the amazing music that you can't learn from the page.
Yes.
So one of the hardest things to teach and some of the hardest things to learn as we play music are really unwritable.
Yeah.
They're unreadable.
Yeah.
And the reason why whenever we do a list of anything here on the You'll Hear It podcast, we start with number 1.
Listen. Sorry.
Peter, are you listening right now?
No, you want me to tell you what I'm actually
doing?
doing?
What are you doing?
Okay, I'm on Chat GPT. I'm obsessed with Chat GPT.
Why
I
are
just
you-
asked it. I was going to ask it about Open Studio because there's some funny stuff. But I'm going to be. Can we do a little sidebar here?
Okay, sure.
Can we do that? We got time for this?
No, but go ahead.
Okay. I said Chat GPT. I said, who is Adam Manis?
Okay.
You want to know what it said?
Oh, boy.
Adam Manis. Well, some folks might not know you. Adam Manis is an American pianist, composer, arranger, and educator. He was born on January. Wait, can I say this?
Yeah.
January 23rd, 1983. Is that correct?
Not even close.
Really?
No.
But January 23rd?
Nope.
Okay. In St. Louis, Missouri,
Correct.
or High Ridge,
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St. Mary's Hospital.
and began playing piano at a young age. Manis has been praised for his technical proficiency and his ability to seamlessly blend jazz, classical, and popular music
Interesting.
styles in his playing and compositions. Manis has released several albums as a solo artist and as part of the Adam Manis Trio.
Interesting.
Well, are you part of the Adam Manis Trio?
Yeah, but I've not released any albums as a solo artist. Not one.
The Adam Manis Trio, which he co-founded. Did you co-found it?
I would hope so.
He has also
It'd be
worked.
weird if I didn't found the Adam Manis Trio. If someone else was like, listen, I'm starting the Adam Manis Trio. We're going to need you in it.
We're doing this in real time. This is kind of a risk. What if we get to some like legal entanglements?
It could happen, man. I have not been an angel my whole life.
Which he co-founded. He has also worked with a number of notable musicians and groups.
Okay.
Including Aaron Bodie,
Yep.
Brian Owens, and the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra.
Correct.
That's all correct. In addition to his performing and recording work, Manis is a faculty member at the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Hello.
Is that true? That is
Nope.
not true. And teaches private lessons.
Nope.
No. Overall, Adam Manis is a respected and versatile musician who has made significant contributions to the contemporary jazz and popular music scenes. That is correct.
That's Chat GPT right there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
It got everything right except for the
We're gonna do
birth date.
We're gonna do you next episode.
Okay,
We'll see
cool.
what they come out. Yeah, that's the Chat GPT is creepy.
It's almost right. It's creepy.
Almost right.
Right.
Like I wouldn't write that bio like that at all for myself.
No.
Some of it was correct. Some of it was there were huge omissions.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been more to University of Missouri St. Louis more than 3 times my whole life. Yeah.
But you're not against it.
I'm not against it. I
It's just
certainly
not a
haven't
part.
been a faculty member there.
Yeah, how does it get that?
It's interesting where
Yeah,
they get this
very
stuff
interesting.
from.
Anyway,
Cool.
yet we diverge.
Big time.
So wait, what is our actual question that we're going to answer today?
I don't know. Should we just talk about ChatGPT?
Well, no, let's just start putting all of our questions into that and see if it can answer it better than us.
So, we're talking today about how all the things you can't learn from the page.
Okay, can you learn jazz from, what do you say, like music notation?
From sheet music.
From sheet music, gotcha. So should we do our answer first, or should we do ChatGPT's answer
I
first?
think we're on the ChatGPT train now.
Sorry, did we go off the rails here? My bad. Okay, ChatGPT, can you learn jazz from sheet music? That's my ChatGPT thinking. While it's possible to learn some aspects of jazz from sheet music, it's generally not the most effective or comprehensive way to learn the genre.
Interesting.
Jazz is an improvisational art form, and much of its style and nuance comes from the performer's ability to interpret and express the music in their own way.
Yep.
This means that jazz musicians often rely on a combination of formal training, listening to recordings, playing with other musicians, and developing their own sense of style and improvisational techniques.
Again, it's pretty accurate. It's like it's omitting some things, but that's pretty good, actually.
While sheet music can provide a good starting point
Yeah,
for learning jazz,
totally.
it doesn't always capture the full range of musical ideas, techniques, and expressions that make up the genre. Jazz is often characterized by its use of swing rhythms, syncopation, and improvisation, which can be difficult to notate accurately in sheet music. Additionally, many jazz musicians rely on a deep understanding of harmony and chord progressions, which may not be fully conveyed in sheet music alone. In summary, well, I got to just show you this because it's actually talking to me, right? In summary, while sheet music can be a helpful tool for learning some aspects of jazz, it's generally best to supplement it with other learning methods and to focus on developing a well-rounded understanding of the genre through listening, playing, and studying with other musicians.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, episode over. ChatGPT has taken over the podcast now.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, really?
That's pretty much it. No. So let's.
Unlike your bio, I think we can expound upon this in a little bit more of an illustrious way. But I don't know is there anything you heard there that you disagreed with?
No.
Right. But the bio, you disagree with it due
Well,
to
just
inaccuracies.
Inaccuracies, yeah. But no, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, so now the pressure's on. Can we answer this better than ChatGPT?
I don't know, man.
Well, let's talk about phrasing because they didn't really get into the phrasing at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we had a
Wait, I think are you okay?
I'm a little in the weeds now. Honestly, I'm a little thrown. There's been 9 minutes of just chat GPT,
Look at you.
and I'm just
As
processing.
You're not processing.
This is why AI is going to win. I can't process at the same time. So let's take a phrase.
By the way, don't turn around, but there is a giant robot
I know.
about to
They're
push you
coming.
off of your chair.
So if you were to play that phrase, right? You just saw that written, a C7, and you had 2 beats,
Yeah.
right? You could play it like that, but
Yeah.
most musicians are going to play it a little bit differently every time.
Right.
And this is why like listening is so important because you get a sense of style, a sense of characteristic to where it's like, are you going to like slow it down and do some sort of triplety things at the end?
Right.
Are you going to phrase it in a way that it rises, or they're going to be a little little staccato inflections
Yeah.
in there. All of these things are kind of idiomatic to different eras, different players, different sort of subgenres within what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
That all is almost impossible to translate to notation. If it is translatable to notation, it becomes so unreadable that it's not practical. You know what I
Right.
mean? So listening has to be such a huge part. And it's such a hard thing to get to because we think that the information is what's going to solve everything, but it really is an experience. And I think that's what I was trying to get at with the title of this. It's not about sort of the information of this,
Yeah.
but it's about experiencing it, as an organic, living, breathing thing, and then putting yourself in there and letting yourself flow out organically and living and breathing. And that's hard to do if you're just learning things from reading them and trying to replicate them as they're written.
Yeah.
You don't have, first of all, you have just a fraction of the actual information of what's going on in music.
Yeah.
But then it also sort of blocks something in you. Like it blocks the part of you that is, it blocks the sort of the mind's ear, right? That comes from the soul, comes from the heart.
Yeah.
That is trying to come out. So that only comes out from doing just a ton of listening.
Yeah.
And so things like rhythmic vocabulary are so hard to get. Things like instinctual phrasing, like being able to have a conversation as you improvise, is so hard to get.
Yeah.
Things like obviously how you interpret a phrase, so hard to get without, because then you're just thinking about it, or you're just trying to regurgitate something you saw instead of heard.
But how can we best recommend ways to sort of jump that chasm between, it's so hard to get, obviously it's so hard to get you can't get this stuff just from the page. That's the first thing. But how do you make it past that point where you can sort of peek at the promised land? So if it's like how you play a phrase, if it's like a bebop thing, and you hear that on a recording by listening, and you're like, okay, now I can hear how that's supposed to sound. I know I can't get that from the page, but I can't play that yet. And there's no way that I can play it like that today. Like, what can we do to help folks? I'm thinking things like being able to really identify, to sing. That's why singing, I think, is so good, because that might be something that you could do today as you work out the technique, as you acclimate your ear and your hands and your mouth if you're trumpet playing, like all the different elements that have to come together to actually be able to execute on playing with these subtleties. Like if you think about the thousands or tens of thousands or maybe millions or hundreds of thousands, whatever it is, the possibly infinite different ways to phrase a line, like there's a number of correct choices, and then there's an even bigger number of wrong choices. So it becomes as much about like, no, that's not it. And by it, it's not this one way of playing it. Even what you heard on a recording, there's a range. But it's like, how do we, through experience, through sets and reps and these things, get to the point where our ears can actually have the taste or culture or whatever it is to be able to distinguish that, even just for one phrase, but then add on to that to be able to constantly be that barometer as you play. And then, okay, well, now that's how you phrase that. How do you phrase the next one? Because you have choices. It's never about this is the way to do it. Even with something like a Mendelssohn, symphony, if it's being like a different conductor have a different approach, there are wrong ways to do it, not just wrong notes. There's wrong ways to phrase it. You can't say everything works all the different time, but you also can't say the right way is sitting there on the page, just execute it. There's no humanity in it.
You most have to use it to develop your taste. Like that's what you're doing. You're developing an attitude. You're developing a point of view.
Isn't that kind of like culture, the music, the vibe, the
art.
sound?
It's developing the art of it, because the art of it is the choice, right? So just like learning what notes to play is just the tools, right?
Yeah.
That's just like the craft,
right?
But the actual putting it into art, and this is where a lot of, I think, especially intermediate players stumble big time, is they don't have a perspective or a point of view or a voice of their own. They don't understand how other people have their own voice, and so they're either.
But they can see that mountaintop, so it's like they can kind of see what it is, so they know they're not there, maybe, but they get lost in how to get there.
The phrasing can be so weak though, because it's not confident.
Right, but if you're intermediate and your phrasing is weak and you can't hear that, are you really truly intermediate? Like if you don't even know that,
I think that's the definition of an intermediate.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I was going to say more beginner, but
maybe beginner, but
Yeah.
like I think there's a lot of people who can play
Yeah.
and who understand some of the theory and have good technique, and they still don't have the phrases seem. They can't hear what a good phrase should sound like.
Right.
Still,
And you know what's the challenge with that? You know, just as kind of an overriding principle is that very simple things, especially within jazz, like, and this can be like straight eighth groove, swing, bossa nova. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not just about swing, but it's like very simple phrases are actually harder to play with like great phrasing and a great sound and a connection to the culture than more complicated phrases a lot of times.
Yeah.
So it's like the things that you can play as a beginner are very exposed and very simple. Like, and that's what we talk about, playing something just simple and beautiful can be, and the slower it gets, the more of a challenge is. So I think we want to keep a perspective to know that we will get there. Don't get frustrated, but do be aware of where you're at, because that's the only way you can make these improvements and keep yourself spirited and knowing that you're progressing. Not every day. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're going backwards, but to kind of keep that end result in mind, which is not necessarily Keith Jarrett being able to play like Keith Jarrett, but you can phrase with that kind of, not exactly how he phrases, but the way that you need to be able to phrase it to be connected with the culture in the same way that Keith Jarrett is connected in a different way than Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock or Art Tatum. I mean, think about or Mendelssohn, you know, like the variations of how this is, but they're all, connected to a culture or a vibe.
Yeah. So I think the lesson here is to, if you really want to grow, if you really want to get better, spend less time on the page and just less time with information, right?
Yeah.
Once you have a certain level of knowledge of the theory and technique, spend time developing your point of view.
Yeah.
What's good? What's not good?
Yep.
According to you, and then really lean into the things you love,
And I wonder if it would
spend time with them.
Yeah. I wonder if it's helpful too to think about it, from kind of a higher view in terms of how you allocate your practice time and even just your thinking, your concentration time on getting better as a player to, certainly theory and repertoire and learning stuff from the page or whatever, but phrasing as being a big part of your practice time. Like how do you phrase? Because that's the way, like if I have a great vocabulary and I understand grammar and everything, if I don't know how to put these sentences together in a way, even if I can put a sentence together, but if I can't put it in a way that's effective phrasing, and maybe to circle back to ChatGPT, that's the problem. ChatGPT has all the information, but not all of it's right, but it can make it sound like it's right because it puts it in like paragraphs and stuff. But when you actually start to see, it doesn't have that human element of like confirmation of like, yes, this is it. And that, yes, this is it, is all about phrasing, and it's not the same for everybody. But because you've done this front-loaded listening and constant like listening, you get to that point where you're like, you understand if you're there or not, and whether or not you're in the ballpark at least. This thing is just going to keep spewing out stuff, thinking it could be right or wrong. It's a mirror of us, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that, allocate that time to really just listening and singing along and then just getting part of your phrase where you're connecting with that. If that's a transcription of Wynton Kelly where you're playing along and you're like, wow, I can kind of match that phrasing, You don't have to be able to solo like that. You're never going to be able to solo like that. But if you can connect with that kind of phrasing, you'll be able to take those little elements without having to think about it a lot and say like, oh, should I do a dotted 16th triplet here because that will make it swing? You're never going to want to do that. But so that you can see a simple line or a chord progression on the page, learn that, internalize it, get it to 80%, and then get away from the page. Don't be like, I've got to memorize this.
Get away from the page.
Get away from the page. No pens, no page. But I mean, like, because we're so quick to hold on to that, but to not put that time and effort and bandwidth on phrasing, because you're never going to get that from the page. You're going to get it from listening.
Yeah.
Listening to yourself, listening to great recordings, listening to your voice singing.
Yeah.
Because that's going to get that phrasing.
Well, this takes us back, Peter. We can have a nice little bookend here to our sponsor, Open Studio. No, not Chat. We don't sponsor ChatGPT, but we do. We are sponsored by Open Studio.
Yes.
In fact, it's our only sponsor. And in fact, after we record this today, we're having a listening session. We're listening to McBride, Blade, Meldau, Redman.
Yep.
Today.
That's the weekly listening
the weekly listening session with the Open Studio community. We also have Open Studio Pro, where there's a ton of talk about these kinds of high-level things that aren't just information that you can't just get from a PDF or a book or a YouTube video, but it is more about the experiential experiential
Yeah.
way of learning the music. We're so proud of that over at Open Studio Pro.
Yeah.
So go to openstudiojazz.com, check out the regular membership where you can just get all of the courses that we have, or check out Open Studio Pro, which is more intense, more committed version where you have to show up to the live classes and enjoy the experiential
have to.
learning. I
You-
mean, you
you're
don't
gonna
have
want
to,
to.
but you're gonna
You
want
have
it.
available.
I mean, it depends. You want to be good?
Yeah.
You want to be good? You want to
You want to be good or
You want
great?
to get better?
You want to be good or great? You want to be good? Go to the other side. You want to be great? Come to Open Studio.
And good.
Well, I was just going to say, Open Studio Jazz is an online music
Oh my
education
God.
platform that offers a wide range of resources. Now it's kind of stumped though. It stopped. The cursor stopped. We stumped ChatGPT. You have to come tune in to the next episode to find out the rest. And until then,
You'll hear it.
I'm in Steamboat Springs, Colorado currently.
I'm in Indianapolis.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Andrew, hi.
Because I feel inspired to play something else from your playing.
Okay, that's great.
I think using the metronome is a great tool, but it's not the only tool.
All of the answers are really in the music.
What does it mean to live in a groove, be in a groove?
Until next time, happy practicing.